And we've got another Cuba. That's Himalaica dolichophylia, which again should get to a fair size. Has not grown at all, but it hasn't been in very long, so hopefully there's lots of rooting going under the ground. Forgive the weeds. Another rubus, which I'm hoping to train up this wall. I'm generally hoping to sort out this wall and make it look a bit nicer, as that's fairly unpleasant. There's a electrical cable waiting to be plumbed into a pond pump one day, and that pipe sticking up there is for a bit of extra irrigation for some hopeful tree ferns, which are going to be overhanging the pond in due course. That sort of tree fern spot there, but it's all plumbed in ready. So this is a recent purchase. This is a Schefflera rhododendrofolia. I managed to pick up two, one in the ground and one spare, which will be overwintered from Jersey Cottage, which if you haven't been to it is a fantastic little nursery, and they've got some great gardens there as well. More Brunnera, and then what have we got here? We've got some Pachysandra Krug's cover, and then we have got some Pollia japonica. So this will all be fairly low growing stuff. Another Persicaria, Compton's Red. What else have we got up here? Forgive the detritus. Yeah, more Pollia japonica, another Brunnera. And then this is one of the few leftovers from the previous garden, which at first glance definitely looks a bit knotweedy. It's not Japanese knotweed, but it is a first cousin. So I think that this is a buckwheat called Phagopyrum dibotris or Phagopyrum cymosum. Anyway, it's all that same Persicaria Polygonaceae family. It's got rhizomes. I'm not sure how thuggish it is. I'm going to dig it up and pot it up, and then maybe at least contain it in some way in case it is a bit thuggish, but we'll see. Back through the hole in the pond. This huge stone, I'm hoping to make a bench by the pond. I don't know quite how I'm going to move it. That could be interesting. So this is the last remaining hard landscaping. There's going to be a step the other side there. There's a pipe there to get the drip irrigation supply pipes through, and electrical cable for the pond pumps. But yeah, we're nearly there. I've just ordered some pier caps for these today, and then we had a fairly tricky job of this whole section here was actually original wall, but it was leaning right over and falling down, hence we built a big support pier there. And if I head through here, another support pier there, which has got a whacking great lump of steel rebar, not steel rebar, RSJ in. But a few B bricks in there, a few more B bricks there, but I'm hoping we'll have this area tidied up in the next week or two. There'll be a step here, but anyway, head back in. Where do we go next? Well, I'll go in the order I planted everything. This was the next section I planted. We've got a ice crystal fig here, which I've noticed in the last couple of days there's some insect which is doing tip rolling there. I'm not sure what that is. It doesn't seem to be harming it too much. More ground cover rubus, pentabulus, and then 3 Nephophia northii. This one went in first. You can see it's a bit further on. I actually struggled to get any more. It took me a while to track down another couple. Then this area here is going to be a path with a bridge in the middle, and then this sort of gap you can see here to the left of the Tetrapanax. There's going to be a stream originating somewhere up there. Hopefully you won't be able to see where it's originating, and then it will come down here under a bridge, and then it will disappear into the ground somewhere here. I've got the crates to create the reservoir, and then the plan is from this seating area that you will be able to look across here, keep any planting here fairly low, but you'll look across the gravel where the stream disappears to the pond, and then somewhere over there you'll have a little waterfall, something quite minor, trickly, because I think it'll be very noisy in here if you have too much aggressive water flowing with the walls. But somewhere over there, and then a nice bench with this massive great lump of rock that I bought unseen. How the hell we're going to move that about, I haven't quite worked out, but hopefully we'll cross that bridge, which will be a bench. Tetrapanax Rex, this is a Facebook Marketplace purchase, so no idea if it is. You tell me. It's got fairly lobed leaves. The growth point, to my eye, from what others have said, seems the right colour, but it's got a bit of woody trunk. It hasn't grown that fast, unfortunately. It looks very healthy, but looking forward to that getting up and giving us a bit of height. There we've got a Euphorbia Pasteurei John Phillips, which looks very healthy but has not grown at all. So hopefully there's lots growing on under the ground. We've got, this is a sort of southwest facing corner, so I've put a couple of the slightly less hardy things here. So we've got Amelianthus major, Pseudopanax mower's toes. What else have we got in here? That's actually fully hardy. That's a Rebecca Lacinata herb stunner. I had those in my old garden. That should get next year probably well above the height of the wall. It's got a friend to wave at the other side. You can see when I've been planting, I've been digging up a lot of stones and rubble in here. What else have we got? Loads of Persicaria amplexicaulis fat domino. I had a lot of this in my old garden. It is an absolute magnet for pollinators. Not always just the obvious bees. You'll get flies on this, you'll get wasps on this. These haven't been in very long, but when this gets established, it's quite slow to come up in the spring. It can look a bit scruffy initially, but once it gets going in the summer, it is a really fantastic underutilized plant. You've got Amicia zygomaris in there, 3 Musa bajus, hardy Japanese bananas. These will be overwintered in here. I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to protect them. I'd like to protect the stems, so we start with some existing trunks next year. We're inland in Norfolk here, so it does get fairly cold. Not massively cold, but fairly cold. Hedychium Devon cream, which has flowered a fair amount. You can see there's a flower, which actually I can just about smell. These got dumped in here together. This is another Hedychium called is it Maximum, which hasn't flowered yet. It looks like it's going to any day now, but I think they are a bit too similar, so in due course they need separating. But it's been a case of needs must of where I could get plants in this year with the with the hard landscaping, and we're still hoping to have a structure built over this seating area, but again, struggling to get somebody to come and do it at the moment. This is the other supposedly hardy colocasia. This is the galungensis, or however you pronounce it. That's probably wrong. I managed to get hold of one small plant, little plug plant, which has done all right. I'm probably going to try and overwinter it outside. That's starting to look a bit scruffy now, but that is another crocosmia. That's late Lucifer. I'm never that sure if it is that much later, but I think it depends on the spot, but I think it can be. Ugh, bindweed. There's a lot of bindweed in here. That's waiting to get a dose of medicine. There's the spade here because I've been planting persicarias. There's some more persicarias to go in there. There's another 3 to go in there. Here we have an unexpected purchase this year. Nice surprise, which is Berinda papifera, the Chris Stapleton 1046. Although that said, it has not been very happy, as you can probably see, and like a lot of other people's, it has had mealybugs. I've been pulling off the culms, and I'm not ashamed to say I did use a bit of pesticide on it, so hopefully that's cleaned it up. I need to really come in here again and have another look, but expensive plant, so hopefully that pulls through. I'm going to give that some shelter this winter as well. Arundo Donax, it finally got away. It hasn't enjoyed the lack of water this year, but since the drip irrigation went in, it's romped away nicely. Little black sambucus called Ava. More water supply. This is a fantastically underutilized plant, which doesn't look its best at the moment. I'll take another video of it in the spring. It's Syringa, Syringa emodii variegata. I first came across this plant in a video by a fantastic plantsman called Malcolm at Eggleston Hall Gardens. All his old videos, I think it's called Plantsman's Corner, are on YouTube. Look them up. He's very irreverent, but fantastic plantsman, and this was a plant that I probably saw a video about this plant about 8 or 10 years ago. This variegation doesn't look great now, but in the spring that paler green is really a fantastic lime green, and it really pops. And the plan is here that this central bit here, there'll be a lot of planting on either side, but there'll be a kind of tunnel down here, and this will be sort of at the end of it with higher growth on either side, so that should really pop. This is a little tree called Tuna sinensis, so first cousin to Cedrella tuna, I would guess. It's looked very happy until the last couple of weeks, autumn, and we've had some gales. It's starting to look not the greatest, but we put on 15-16 inches, and love the new growth on that. That should get right up there and give some canopy. That's another clumping bamboo. Chusquea Purple Splendor. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's another pan-global plant. That's a little Pittosporum, nothing too exciting, but that should provide a nice green backdrop. That climbing hydrangea is really the only plant that I intended to leave in here. This is a Rus typhina, the dissected version. That comes from a very good nursery near Penrith called Larch Cottage, where I also got this Paulownia. which has done very little. It hasn't been on the irrigation, and I probably dug a fairly token hole. So I might well dig that up, dig a better hole and put some soil here. This is an old farm, and there were some old cattle sheds, and unfortunately a lot of them were buried. So planting in here is unbelievable. You know, you can dig a hole and end up removing 3 wheelbarrows full of rubble and crap in order to plant a plant, and having to bring in a load of other soil. Oak leafed hydrangea, starting to get into its autumn colour. We are on chalk here, so I've incorporated quite a lot of ericaceous compost. As I said, we brought in a lot of soil, so that shouldn't be too near the chalk. God, I need to do some weeding in here. This is a little sambucus whose name escapes me. Ebolus lacinata deberensis. Supposedly suckers around the base. Nice foliage. This is one of 2. I've got one planted elsewhere. This is Trocodendron araloides. I forget if this is the one that claimed to be the Taiwanese form. This hasn't been in the ground that long, but it was a diddy little plant. You can see that was really where it was last year, and it put on all that growth in the pot in the spring. So hopefully now it's got its feet in the ground, it should get away and give us some nice evergreen structure. I'm going to put another soft caress in back there. You can see I'm using the place as a compost heap. Chop and drop. This is Danae racemosa, and then a clump of 3 Fargesia robusta Campbell, which have thrown up tons and tons of new culms. I've been quite good at watering this year, and they're on a fair old mound of manure and whatnot. And you can see those are banana leaves I've been chucking down there, so they've done well. This is Sorbifaria sem, which got a bit droughted, but it's on the drip irrigation now, so hopefully that should do well. What else have we got here? That is another rubus, and I forget the full name, but I'm hoping to train that up and over the wall. It's Lancelotus, I think, is in the name. A scandent habit. It was described as a climbing habit. It'll need some help here getting up on the wall, but I think once it gets up on the wall, it's actually really romped away in the last few weeks. I haven't been in here for a while. Trachycarpus waggy. You can actually see when I planted that, I dug a huge amount of chalk and rubble out of there, and the ground has actually given, where I put the new soil in, it's actually sunk. It's got a very small root ball on it, that one, and I can actually see it's leaning over backwards. So one of the jobs for this weekend is to hike that up a bit and probably peel back the mulch and put some new soil in and raise that up a bit again. Helwinga chinensis, that's the narrow-leaved form. That supposedly should... Is that one already? Yes, that is one already. I think it suckers around itself. So hopefully that should form a nice clump here. Another loquat. That's from a great nursery just outside Norwich called Urban Jungle. And then here we have expensive bamboo containment. I dug this whacking great hole, took a huge amount of rubble and chalk out, and then put this metal ring I made in. It's also doubled up with bamboo barrier inside, so I think ultimately the soil level will touch up against that more. This area here has very little soil, and just underneath that is chalk and rubble and crap, so there's a lot more digging to be done here. But this is Indo-Calamus tessellatus, which I don't know if you can see that clump there. There's already put a runner there and there, so it's definitely living up to its running form, growing up through the Muhlenbeckia complexa. That's a variety called Golden Girl. And then this is a desert to jungle Trachycarpus, which has been in the ground a couple of months and not done an awful lot. So I'm actually thinking that ultimately maybe somewhere down here. So I may well dig that up and overwinter it in a pot. I've got another Rubus henryi to grow in there. But this whole area here, I'm hoping we can get a mini digger up in here with some scaffolding boards without damaging the new step, and dig the reservoir for the stream, and then at the same time scrape the topsoil, such as there is, off this area, put it to one side, and then take out a few tons of rubble and crap, because this area here is really awful. This is absolutely old building and rubble and God knows what, and we're on very thin chalky soil anyway. So there we are. Not as much progress as I would have liked. I'll leave you there on a bit of autumn colour from the Alstroemeria, which really flowers like absolutely nothing else. That has been flowering like that for months and months and months, with the colocasias overhanging the path there. Anyhow, roll on next year when hopefully we can get the whole lot planted.